Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is Monday, March 21st, 2022. And today I am sharing true ghost stories from the web. I'm sorry, not true ghost stories, that's tomorrow. True paranormal stories from the web. As always, to find all episodes of the podcast and links to social media, ways to donate, and other ways to contact me, you can visit the podcast page, which is salcidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. If you have always looking to hear from you all. If you have whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions for episodes, or if you would like to share stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust, happy to read those on the show for you. Or if you'd like to be on the show, we can arrange that as well. Thank you all for listening, whether it's to the live stream, which I see you all there in the channel. Thank you, or whether you're listening to the podcast or YouTube channel feed. I appreciate all the support, and we're still getting ever closer to 2,000 downloads. So it's gonna be a major milestone I never expected to reach. So again, thank you all so much. But I believe with that, I can get on to the stories here. And go from there. So, this first one says, I'm not sure if this is paranormal, but it's definitely not normal. One night, I was driving home on the highway around 1 or 2 a.m. The moon was out, but it was cloudy, so the sky was that dark gray color. I remember looking up while I was driving and seeing what looked like a black garbage bag stuck on a telephone wire blowing in the wind. But I remember thinking, that's odd because that line would be way too low over this highway. I had driven that part of the highway hundreds of times. I was driving about 60 miles per hour, and the black blob wasn't moving. And as I got closer, I noticed that the black garbage bag was moving in a more fluid motion than a bag blowing in the wind. It looked like a blob of oil hovering in one spot, kind of like a lava lamp. It also kind of looked like the robes from, basically robes from a character in a fictional story. This was a few miles from a huge outlet mall in Chicago, Illinois, and I was the only car I saw driving in both directions. I was lost in thought for a few seconds after trying to comprehend what I saw. I didn't feel any threat, but was really shocked trying to put together what I saw. It was definitely the oddest thing I've seen in my life. And that's where that story ends. That's yet another of these dark blob kind of things. There's been a couple of stories about that now. I found one doing research for this show, which is interesting. Makes you wonder what's going on there. I mean, that doesn't sound like your typical orb, Um, I don't know. It's it's basically it's just, but then also that it makes me wonder about if it's on a wire, a telephone pole wire or power wire. Um, does that mean it's taking energy from it? And that kind of goes back to a previous story I read a while ago, where someone was in their house and they saw um, this black dot or this black orb with like a tail on the end of it, and it was on the floor, and it was like it was moving across the floor, and it was heading towards a power outlet. So, what are these things? And what is the connection to these things, whatever they are, and power? Are they taking power? Are they using it as a transportation system? Both. Um, really interesting. So yeah. Oh, and no worries, APOC. Yeah, this basically person, the writer of the story, was driving down a road, and they saw up near, like, attached to a power wire, a telephone pole wire, this mass of darkness that was, at first they thought was a garbage bag, but it didn't move like one. It was more, I guess, like flowing in its shape, but it wasn't moving anywhere. Um, so, but it was on or surrounding a power wire. So, so yeah, that's an interesting one there. Again, that's the second time I've heard a story about these things being connected to power, and that's the third that I can think of. Third story about something dark like that, but not like a figure of any kind, not an animal or a person. Um, just like a shadow blob or orb. Um, it's really interesting. It seems like I've been finding more of those stories since I started doing the show. Um, I guess I was talking yesterday actually with APOC about this, and apparently um, it is a thing that you can find other stories of online. I just had never heard them until I started researching for this show. Um, so yeah, I don't know what to make of that, but it's really pretty amazing. For years, I just heard of the other colored blobs or orbs, never really these dark ones instead. So, um, anyway, so yeah, that's basically that one. It'll be interesting to see how many more of these start showing up as as the show goes on. Um, the whole connection to power, electricity, that's interesting. But anyway, I can get to this next story here. This one says, this happened maybe 10 years ago when I was around 18, but I've never forgotten it. I lived in a semi rural area growing up and was killing time driving down a back road by myself one afternoon. I was about to turn onto a dirt road where I like to drive sometimes, since it was not well traveled. An old abandoned shack sat right before the road I was turning onto, and so I was right in front of it when I was slowing to turn. Since I was on basically a leisure drive with nowhere to really be or go, I had been kind of zoned out. I don't know if that is why I didn't see him, but I didn't until I was right in front of the shack. There was an elderly man right beside the highway, like he was waiting for a ride. He was dressed in a gray suit that looked like it was from another era, wearing a fedora and holding a briefcase. We saw each other, and he smiled and waved at me, like he had been waiting for me. If he had been there the whole time, I would have had about an eighth of a mile to spot him, and he was in the same area I would have been focusing on. So I have a hard time thinking I just didn't see him the whole time. He did not blend in, and there were no trees or anything to obscure my view of him. I was not really scared, but I was definitely confused. I picked up the pace and drove on down the dirt road and made my way home by another path. I never saw him again, and from what I know, there is no one that has lived there for decades. I've always wondered if he was really there, and if so, who he was. So, that's interesting. It seems like someone just appeared there on the side of the road. Um, so that makes you wonder if he really did, or how he appeared, what the person would have seen if they'd really been focused on anything on that part of the area. Um, Interesting. Makes me wonder. Although I've never really heard of a shadow figure with a briefcase, but man with the fedora and dark clothes makes me wonder if at night that would have appeared almost as a shadow person. But then again, shadow figures have been seen sometimes in the day, so it doesn't necessarily, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, or it doesn't mean that that has to be a hard and fast rule. But yeah, interesting story there. That and this figure obviously saw the driver, waved to them, and everything. So, um, I don't know, some kind of a time slip, time anomaly, or a spirit, or who knows? Hard to say. If there was nowhere else in the area, immediate area, where you could have been staying, then it just makes you wonder how. Depending on, I guess, it would depend on his health, and I guess it'd be hard to tell that. Excuse me. Hard to tell that just based on one brief look. Um, One brief look at him, you couldn't really tell if he would have been healthy enough to go out there, like to make a long walk out to that area. But then why stand right there? So a lot of questions there on that one. But so yeah, so that was a neat one there. Lots of possibilities. So, but I'll go on to the next one here. This one says, last summer, my dad and I were out on the driveway, and I was laying on a table. That's interesting. Nice to lay. We live in a rural area, so it was quiet, and the sky was beautifully clear, and you could see all the stars. we were talking for some time, and I was watching a satellite cruise around or across the sky and disappear like they do once out of the sunlight. At this time, it reappeared a little further back from where it disappeared. I watched it happen twice. Twice again. Travel, disappear, restart, travel, disappear, restart. Every time it restarted, it was a different brightness and size. So I called my dad over and asked him if he saw what I was looking at. He stood there and was amazed, saying he saw it too. We watched this happen for a minute, then he ran inside to grab my mom. They both came out as I continued to watch this happen. After maybe 5 minutes of this, it disappeared. It showed back up from where it started and traveled all the way across the sky without disappearing once. So, it doesn't sound like a regular satellite to me, as far as I can tell. Then again, I'm no expert in satellites. But at least there was witnesses, multiple witnesses. And so that's a neat little story. I wonder, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. APOC asks. I always wonder if those could be related to orbs. I mean, I guess really, there's no way to say that. I feel like it's possible. I feel like it's impossible to say that they can't be. I mean, who's to say that orbs can't, or whatever orbs are, who's to say they can't be way up in the sky? Or maybe that they weren't even that far up. I've heard that it's hard to judge distances sometimes. So maybe it wasn't even as far up as they thought. So, I don't know about that one. Let me get some water here real quick. But, yeah. Okay. So I did hear that right. Very difficult to judge distance. Okay. So, yeah. And then that leaves a lot of opening, and we've been talking about this for a little while now. What are orbs? Can they be spirits? Can they be other beings? Aliens, UFOs? My idea on all of this stuff is always, why can't they be multiple things? It's just that sometimes they appear the same or similar to each other. So I don't know, but that's neat that there was 3 people that witnessed the same thing. Oops, hang on 1 second here. We got someone that's not needed. Fine. Oh, okay. Let me see here. No problem. I can handle this. That's not a problem. Let me see here. Okay. Thank you all for being here, though. I hope no one is angry that I muted anyone. I would always appreciate you all listening. But yeah, so neat little story there. So we'll go on with the next story. But yeah, many possibilities, as APOC says. Yep. So, all right. I think we got 3 left to go through here. So this one says, So we have this road that leads from our town to the highway that has a fast food restaurant on it. So we have to go all the way out to the highway when the kids want food from there. One evening, we had gone and got to get food, and we're coming back on the same two-lane highway, and it had just gotten to where you needed headlights on. We were about a mile down, and a truck was coming toward us. We slowed down because myself and my husband see something, and it's weird to try and explain, but it was like the size of a wolf, but whatever it was reminded me of the thing off of Predator when he went invisible. We could see it, but it looked like the road and part of the grass. I had slowed down and was looking at it, trying to figure out what was going on. And it turned its head towards us because we could see the cloak thing shift. The truck coming toward us saw it also because it slowed down. And the predator wolf thing shot across, and it looked crazy, just like when the predator moved in the movies, how you could see it but couldn't. I looked up and watched the driver of the truck watch it, and he kind of shot up in his seat, and both our heads shot to the side when it shot off. We all just sat there. We slowly pulled to each other, and I was hesitant to even roll my window down at that point. I thought, well, it's got to go through his truck to get to us first, so the driver of the truck said, "What the heck was that? Did you see it? Trying to hide?" What it really looks like. Did you see he tried to hide what it really looks like by trying to blend in? There we go. I can read. It says, the writer says, "That's when I knew it really did have a cloak looking thing going on. We agreed on everything and drove on. The whole time I was watching mirrors and windows, waiting for the attack since we saw it. We made it home, and I would not go back the same way for a good year. We've talked about it around here before, and a few others have described the same thing. Before I even mention the predator cloak thing. What could it be? This is Native American land, American Indian land, and my dad's tribe is the I guess they're saying that's where that tribe was. But I've asked a few elders, and they always say not to ask about things, or they will hear you talking about them and pay you a visit. That's kind of like them saying not to whistle at night, eat in the dark, or leave your hairbrush with hair in it. Just the way we are raised. But I need to know what it was. So, that is the experience there. Let's see here. Am I muted? Let me see. Oh no, good. Okay. But that was a wild story. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like there are witnesses there at the time, and then other times people saw the similar thing. Um, so I don't. That's. I mean, I've never heard of a. See, I've heard of almost like regular people-sized figures having that kind of a cloak, and I've heard of like Bigfoot-sized creatures having that kind of a cloak, but I've never heard of a wolf having that. So that's a first from what I've heard. That doesn't mean I've heard everything, but that's the first time for that. Um, so now I kind of want to look into that. Yeah, and I don't know, shapeshifter, but again, yeah, maybe that's what it is. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I that's quite the like I said. For there to be several witnesses, so different times. Um, that's pretty amazing. That's an amazing story there. Amazing experience. I don't blame the people though for not wanting to go back down that road for a while, because wolves can be dangerous enough depending on the circumstances. Then you get one that's invisible. Who knows if they have that kind of a um, invisibility? Sometimes that could mean there's other abilities, or at least it's possible. So very, very neat one, very unique one there, from what I've heard. But okay, so we got two more here, and I'll get to those. Let's see here. Okay. This one says, so just now, I saw a glowing ball of light, maybe ball lightning. I'm not saying it's anything, ET, rise from the ground and straight up into the sky, losing track of it due to the bright background of cloud cover. I live in a high rise and I'm trying to quit smoking, so I will open my window, take one or two drags, then put it out. Before I light it, I'm just looking over into the houses in front of me for no real reason, since it's a nice view with beautiful mountains. And there we go, mountains. Then I catch something below me on the ground, obviously brightly glowing. I'm not talking some obscure thing in the corner of my eye, or a piece of dust, possibly caught in the wind, and mistook what I saw. It was a clearly glowing, bright white orb that rose from below me, about 50 yards away. Perfect view from the 10th floor. Just to go straight up really fast into the sky. I wanted to tell some people. I went to tell some people and they couldn't care less. I'm not the type who sees balloons and jumps to UFO or hears some creaks and assumes it's the boogeyman. I'm highly skeptical and critical with everything. I know what I saw. Now, I'm not saying this is anything crazy. It very well likely has a natural explanation. Or maybe not. I mean, ball lightning is a real thing. But what I know is that it isn't some weird optical illusion. And everyone just shrugged, insisting I must have seen something weird with a sunbeam refracting off of something or whatever. Now I get why people don't talk about these things. It's annoying knowing what you saw with certainty and everyone trying to fight you on it while rolling their eyes. And yeah, I agree with him there. On that last part, that is for sure. Um, that's quite the sighting. We you don't always hear about orbs just coming up from the ground, just straight into the sky and then out. Um, ball lightning, from what I've heard, it usually comes down, or at least it doesn't. It doesn't go all the way back into the sky. Not that I've ever heard, anyway. So, um, sounds like they saw something, and but that's sad that they had to experience that kind of a ridicule or that dismissal. That's not fun. Been there before. But that's why this podcast is here. That's why I started this show to kind of help fight against that a little bit. So, but yeah, pretty neat sighting there. Sounds like it was the middle of the day, which is neat as well. So, but I got one more story left. Again, thank you all for being here, and we'll get to this last story. So, let's see here. I'll get to this last one, and we'll go from there. Okay. Oh, I went too far. All right, there we go. This one says, I've been dying to know if anyone has ever seen a UFO like the one I saw. I've only ever seen one, and it's really hard to describe. But it was like a bright, glowing orange boomerang shape. After I saw it stand still for about 30 seconds, it was like a beam of that glowing orange light started shooting back and forth from either side, faster and faster, starting to lighten and become translucent, and then get brighter until it formed like a more solid looking triangle shape. And then it took off so fast, I couldn't even keep an eye on it. It looked like it disappeared. Also, I was with someone when I saw this who saw the exact same thing. It blew our minds. So that last one is a short one, but that's an interesting, really neat sighting there. So I've heard of these lights, but never really. Well, I guess unless you, it almost could sound like maybe one of those jellyfish kind of shaped things, maybe. Um, my wire is all twisted. My microphone here, the headset. But but beyond that, I don't know. But that's a. It sounds like a fast one. So yeah, that was a. I found a new source recently of these stories to read and saw that one. I had to share it. But anyway, that's it for today. Tomorrow night I'll be sharing true ghost stories from the web, and Wednesday we have a special guest coming on, and we're going to read each other a few stories each and react to them, and so that should be fun. Thursday will be a book review as always. Got a couple of Stephen King books that I would like to review. And then Friday will be the last of the Mountains and the Paranormal episodes. And so looking forward to that as well. Thank you all for being here. And sorry for any technical difficulties. But I'm sure we'll get those figured out. And so go from there. So take care, everyone. And I'll talk to you tomorrow night on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Thank you.